Hey, well, I see we've hit 5 o'clock, so thank you all for being here today. Welcome, Chef. Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, just want to cover a few housekeeping guidelines. As you know, we usually have a pretty big class, so you'll notice that your microphones might be muted. That's again to minimize any background noise so we can focus all of our attention on our amazing chef. If you do have questions as we go along, please feel free to put them into the chat box there. You can also maybe raise your hand if you have a question, and I'm hoping you guys are able to unmute yourself from where you're at, but we kind of had people join in a new way today, so bear with us as we kind of learn what functionality you guys have as well. But thank you for being here today, and we'll take a moment to just introduce ourselves. So we've got our wonderful Chef Alyssa here with us. She's been a personal chef for over 25 years. She combines wonderful flavors with fantastic nutrition. We're so excited to have her here with us. Allison is one of our wellness coaches. She's actually on vacation this week. So thank you to Maylin for stepping in, and she'll be helping to monitor those chats so we make sure get all of your questions answered today. And of course, myself, my name's Heather Charles. I'm a wellness coach based on Maui. And, during our time together today, we just hope to really spark your curiosity to learn more about whole foods, plant-based styles of eating, while also increasing your confidence in being able to prepare these meals. Now, you might be asking yourself, what's so special about this type of a diet? And for those of you who might be here for your first time, we want to give you some statistics on this. In addition to cutting your carbon footprint in half, it's also the only diet shown to prevent and reverse chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease. And that's a really big deal, you guys. We're talking about reversing disease. That's huge. So what is all involved in this style of eating? Well, whole food plant-based celebrates food in its most natural form. That means it's closest to the way it was grown or the way that our ancestors might have recognized it as food. And that it can include fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes. Chef did a wonderful presentation last month, but it was really, 2 weeks ago, right, Chef? It was
Mhm.
not too long ago, on lentils, and then we got nuts and seeds. And in addition to maximizing those foods, we're minimizing or taking out processed foods, refined sugars, white flour, and animal-derived foods. Now, I understand we might all be coming in with different backgrounds and different experiences with this style of eating, and it could seem a little daunting at first. And that's why we have these words summed up on the screen here. You can see they were written by Michael Pollan. He's an American author and a journalist. He's written several books about food and health, and he coined that phrase, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. So trying to make it as simple and succinct as possible, because most of us are coming into this today knowing that vegetables are good for us, and yet, right, we're not really eating them, or we don't know what to do with them, or we don't know how to make them taste good. So they've not been seen as being delicious. They're often portrayed as this kind of chore to eat. And we really hope to shift the mindset today around that and opening you up to just a new experience with food. Now, we hope the class today plants a seed of curiosity and healthy cooking. We're also going to put a link in the chat to a video series that Stanford School of Medicine put together in 2016. It's called Food and Health, and we strongly encourage you to check it out. It's a series of 17 videos that range in length from 3 to 5 minutes that give really practical skills and information on why and how we should eat healthier. So I'm going to just copy this and I'll put it in the, because I don't know if you have that, May. So I'm just going to put that in real quick, you guys, and I encourage you to check that out on your own time. There we go. I also want to draw your attention to the handouts that were included in the link for the class today, specifically this plant-based healthy plate. And you'll notice that this plate is divided up a little differently than maybe how many of us grew up, where it was the protein and the starch were really the stars of the plate. And now we've called flip the plate. Now we want the vegetables to be the star of the plate, and that in turn means that there's a lot of color and it just looks beautiful. So we're already eating with our eyes. You'll also notice that instead of meat, it says protein. And that means that it could include plant-based proteins. And included in there are beans, lentils, or tofu, the ingredients that we'll be focusing on in these classes. So again, the main takeaway from this is that you want your plate to be colorful and be vibrant. If you're getting that color on your plate, you know you're moving in the right direction. If you do want to learn more about the healthy plate specifically, just as a tip, we have a separate virtual 90-minute class taught by our registered dietitians called Get Your Plate in Shape, and that's for our Kaiser Permanente members. And that will explore different variations of meals in this format. We'll talk more about some of the class options at the end of our time together today. Before we get into the cooking, I'm going to just pull up the recipes that Chef is going to be preparing today so she can review those ingredients with everyone. As a reminder, your email invitation to join the class today should have also included the links to download those recipes for yourself. And if you have any questions, again, on the recipes as we go along, put it in the chat. And I'm also happy to pull up the recipes again at the end of class if you just want to take a screenshot or something of it. And lastly, just want to acknowledge that there may be a range of people attending tonight. Some of you might be here for the first time and just kind of wondering what this is all about. Others of you may have been really pursuing this style of eating for quite some time. We really want to support folks with resources to move in any direction that you choose. All of these recipes are adaptable to your personal tastes and preferences. So if you do or are maybe restricting oils or replacing certain foods or wondering what could be supplemented instead, again, please put it in the chat and Chef will answer it to the best of her ability with any substitutions. So congratulate yourself for being here tonight. Just enjoy watching and learning. And with that, Chef, I'm going to hand it to you and you guys can follow along on the screen here. We'll go over the pinto bean burgers first.
All right, so this is a real flavorful recipe where you combine pinto beans, canned pinto beans that are rinsed and drained. We're going to saute it with a little, first going to start out with some onions and a little bit of olive. It could be avocado oil. And then we're going to add in the bell pepper, saute that with some garlic and spices. And we're going to mash our pinto beans and we're going to add that all in, that sauteed vegetable mixture, into our mashed pinto beans. And then we've got some additional flavorings. We got cilantro, black olives. I'm using a vegetarian cheese today, but it could be regular cheese, shreds, and then some crushed chips, a little bit of hot sauce, and some fresh lime juice. So it's a real flavorful combination. And then what we're going to do is we're going to form it into patties, pan fry it, or you could also bake it. So depending upon whether you want to not saute it in oil or not.
All right. Fantastic. And again, I can put these up later, you guys, if you want to refer back to them or take a quick screenshot while this is up. And let's see. Oh, I see Paul has, oh, did you have a question, Paul? I saw your hand up. I'm not sure if you can unmute, if you're able to. Maybe not. Otherwise, Paul, if you can't unmute, then feel free to put it in the chat. And Margot, sorry, yeah, we did disable the cameras for now so that we can focus all of our attention on Chef. So that's why you see it that way. Yeah. Okay, then we'll go into the Korean tofu style patties. And I have to say, Chef, I just made these last night because they're one of my favorites. And I did bake them and they turned out beautifully. So I'm excited to eat them for dinner tonight.
All right. Well, that's good. Yeah. So this one starts out with a firm tofu. I actually bought extra firm tofu yesterday and that worked just fine. It depends upon the brand. So it's tofu that we're going to mash up and then we're going to again saute some onions in a light oil, which for today I have avocado oil. And then we're going to add in some ginger and garlic. I have white beans, which are, I have cannellini beans that we'll mash a bit, and that'll be our binding agent. So instead of eggs, we're using beans today, and a little added extra protein. And then we're going to have shoyu, honey, sesame oil, green onions, cilantro, sambal. And when we have that, we're going to all mix it together, and we're going to add a little bit of panko breadcrumbs, to bind it even further. And then we're going to saute it, or we could also bake it off too. And then we have a little side sauce that is got the flavors of the sesame, the shoyu. It's got rice vinegar and sambal in it, and green onions and sesame seeds. So that's like the dipping sauce. And I like to serve it with like a lettuce leaf cup with cucumbers and eat it that way.
All right. Fantastic. Oh, and I think, Chef, I think the iPad may have
Oh, I'm
gone
gone. Okay.
black. If you
Okay,
want to
I
look
see
at it
my.
real quick.
Yeah,
I
I
see her.
see
She's
myself.
good. Yeah.
Oh, you see her.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know why mine
Yep,
goes
she's
back.
good.
Okay.
Okay. So far.
Oh, good. I'm glad you guys can see it. All
Yeah,
right.
interesting. Okay, so then we're going to start in with pinto bean
Yeah, so
patties?
I'm going to stop
Okay.
sharing this and we will focus on you. Let me highlight you. Hopefully you guys can all see the pan there. All right, you're good to go.
All right, I'm going to do my trying to figure out my little burner, as I always do. Okay. So I'm heating up my burner. And this heats up pretty fast. I'm going to put my oil in. I'm going to look for it to ripple a little bit. Oh, yeah. And then I'm going to add in my onions. Saute them. These are white onions today. They could be red onions too. And we just want to saute these till they're chopped fine. Until they start to get cooked. Won't take too long. Tender and translucent, as it says in the recipe. I do have a fan on too, just to see if that'll help. It's blowing across here, so hopefully
Okay.
that'll be in some assistance. I can turn it up if you see anything that needs attention. Okay. Should I bring it closer? Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna cook this a little bit more. Then I'm gonna add in, I have some, you could do chopped red bell pepper or green bell pepper, yellow, whatever you like, whatever you have. Today, I chose red.
And that looks colorful already.
Yeah. And then I have some garlic, 2 cloves of garlic. Once I add the garlic, I kind of just want to move a little bit faster because I don't want the garlic to burn.
Sure. Well, and while you're
Sorry.
kind of adding those ingredients, somebody is admiring all the prep work that you've done and asking if you have any tips on making the prep process any quicker.
Ooh. Well, I did do both onions for both recipes together. So, and I've, hold on one sec. Let me just focus on getting, so I've got the 3 spices. I don't want my garlic to burn. So I've got the chili, oregano, and cumin. I'm just going to heat this through, mix it with a little bit of the oil that's still residual on the pan. And I can smell all the wonderful spices releasing their wonderful scent. And then I'm going to take this off of the heat. Then I'll answer that question. So it'll just turn off. Excuse me a minute. I'm going to be transferring things back and forth. So let's see here. So, so what I did was, several people have told me that they like to prep things, like they know they're going to use onions throughout the week. They'll prep up a bunch of onions, and then just keep it in a bag in the fridge. you could do something like that. Bell peppers, I find that they can get kind of slippery. But what you could do is you could prep it and put it in Ziploc bags and then freeze portions. And then you could pull that out and then use it. So that would be one idea as far as trying to be efficient with cooking. You could do it with garlic too, you know, and just keep it in a jar. Garlic's good kept in oil. So you could keep it, just kind of cover it with a little olive oil or the avocado oil and then just spoon it out. So that might be able to save some time. Just a thought. I don't know if that helps.
Oh, I'm sure it does help. And I know for me
Okay.
too, sometimes if I know it involves a lot of chopping, I might make a double batch and just kind of
Oh, right.
commit to it, and then put the leftovers in the freezer. So then I've got meals that will, you know, I can pull out at a later time too. Just make it worthwhile.
All
And these
right. So
burgers all freeze well too.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I've never tried to freeze the tofu burgers. Actually, I haven't frozen anything. I just eat them. I haven't gotten that far. But I was strategizing this so that I can put the wood cutting board on top of the burner. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to put my pinto beans that I've rinsed and drained into a mixing bowl. And I'm going to mash it. So I have like, this is the style of potato masher that I have. Does that help? Maybe if I put it against the cutting board like that.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the one that I used. I know that there's different designs. And you just want to break it down so that the burgers will all bind together. And depending upon the can of brand of pinto beans you buy, some might be softer than others. Another way you could do it and mash it is you could process it in a food processor. Okay. This one, I bought these ones. I know I mentioned that at last class, but I was thinking about it today because one benefit of buying the beans at Target is they have the the automatic open tops. What do you call that? With the little tab. So you don't need a can opener. So I thought maybe that's just the norm nowadays, that people don't have can openers in their kitchens. I'm not sure, but it's healthy, makes it easy. So I've got my beans mashed, and I'm bringing back my pan where I saute the onions, bell peppers, garlic, and spices. I'm going to scrape all that wonderful flavoring into a bowl with the pinto beans. I'm one of those people that gets like everything off the bottom of the pan. Okay, so at this point, then we're going to add in the rest of the ingredients. See if I can find them. Okay, I've got cilantro. You can see chopped cilantro. And I've got black olives. Black olives that are sliced. You could get diced ones too. I've got the shredded cheese, like cheese. And I want to show you the brand that I got. This is Daya, deliciously dairy-free, shredded Mexican.
Yeah, so this is a vegan cheese or a dairy-free cheese, yeah?
Yeah. So, it depends upon your preference. And then I have corn chips that half a cup that I crushed with my hands. So we've got some crushed chips in there.
Any preferred kind of chip in there?
Well, I got, my preferred chip is what's on sale. But I did get this late July jalapeno lime.
Ooh, I like the late July chips also.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. So these are the yellow corn. And then I have some hot sauce. If you like hot sauce, I have oh gosh, it looks like tapatio, but I know it's not
Tapatio.
tapatio. Thank thank you. That was terrible. I apologize. My lack of pronouncing correctly. Okay, so I'm going to mix it together. And well, I think what I really want to do is get my hands in there. So I am going to put on some gloves. Clean off my spoon. Should have done that. Fan is blowing my gloves. Okay. So just get in there and mix it so it's all binding together well.
Yeah, and I will say getting your hands in there is pretty key to making it hold, making it stick together like a patty.
Mm-hmm. Cohesive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, okay, I'll take this one off. Move this. And I have a cast iron skillet. And this one I put some avocado oil. This will get pretty hot. Now I have these like ice cream scoops. These are really good if you want to make them like sliders, or a bigger size would be a burger. So however you want to shape size. Yeah, I'll put another glove on. Oh, I can smell the oil already. Let me turn that down. And you can put it in a little panko, or you can just put it just plain onto the skillet. So I'm just going to do a little bit. We'll panko the tofu patty. And at this point, if you didn't want to do it this way, you could put it on a parchment paper lined baking sheet. And then I would bake it at 350. Generally, I do it like 15 to 20 minutes and then turn it and continue on. So it looks like it's heated through. This is so good. You can even just like eat it like a dip with some corn chips.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking that as you were doing it, that might be just a good dip with some chips.
Yeah, right.
Similar. Yeah. So somebody's asking, Chef, would pulsing the ingredients make the patties too creamy? Would it over process it?
I think if you just, I'm going to just add a little bit of oil right there in the middle. If you just, I'm sorry. This goes so fast. It's just amazing, this burner. If you pulse it just really fast, quick pulses and then stop, that usually it would be, I think it'd be fine, but it's, just kind of really knowing your food processor and how efficient it is at breaking things down. So some of them can really, make it like mush. Hopefully that answers your question. So I find with the cast iron skillets that once the skillet gets hot, there's a lot of residual heat. You don't necessarily need to leave it on too long once you turn it. I don't want to burn it. Yeah, it's already getting brown. So you can see it's a really fast process. Now this is really good with if you have avocados. I looked and there was no ripe avocados yesterday. So if you have any avocados, this would be great to do like an avocado topping, or eat it with avocados, or just make like a guacamole and put a little dollop on top. That's really delicious. So that's about it. I'm going to get a plate and we can turn this off. Anybody have any questions? And I'll put this on the plate for us to look at.
Yeah, any questions? They're such a great little size.
Yeah, I made it for the slider size.
Mm-hmm.
These are great. Again, yeah, also inside of lettuce leaf, or like a small soft taco tortilla.
So a lot of different ways to serve it. Put some
Yeah.
salad or some greens with it.
Yeah, sliced tomatoes, you know, right, let it cool down a little bit. You can add, like you said, some lettuce. It's delicious.
One question is, do you need the cheese in order to help it bind?
No, you don't. Once you mash those pinto beans and, you know, use your hands in there, that's really a good binder.
Okay, so somebody could leave the cheese out altogether if they wanted to.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. Definitely.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Good. And then somebody is also asking, are you browning just for the crust and crunch?
Yes, and to heat it through, you know, just so it's not
Warm.
cold, because the pinto beans weren't heated, you know, in a pan beforehand. So you could, I've done this for a client years ago, in the sense that, you know, where they were fine with deep frying. I'm not so fine personally with deep frying, but what I would do is I would saute it in a good amount of oil, and then I would on both sides, and then I'd bake it off. So you could take that same concept too, you know, where you could pan fry this and then finish it to get it crispy on both sides, and then pop it in the oven to finish off, you know, a little bit longer. This one, this skillet heats so fast with this burner. I took it off pretty quick, but if I was using my stove right behind me, I might have, you know, cooked it a little bit longer, because the electric stove is not as responsive as this conduction cooktop.
Chef or Heather, did you try using an air fryer with this?
No, that sounds wonderful. I have not gotten an air fryer yet. I think that must be on my bucket list this year.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with this particular recipe. I think I tried the tofu patties once, and it worked pretty good. You just have to be careful, because in there I found, well, make sure it doesn't stick, because mine stuck a little bit on the bottom of the air fryer, and then they're kind of, they can be sensitive, so it was falling apart a little bit. So I usually tend to bake it, but I think the air fryer would also work. I just have to play around with it a little bit more. And then
Heather, can you put the recipe up?
Yeah, I'll have to
put
it up at the end.
Okay.
I'll come back to it. Yeah, because I don't want to interrupt Chef's video.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So does anyone have any other questions, or I was going to clear and set up for the tofu patties.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You guys see yourself making it? Oh, somebody wanted to see the brand of cheese that you had again.
Sorry, as I'm just closing it up. Sorry.
I think it was Daya, right?
Yeah, it's Daya. See if I got an angle. Is that a little better? Daya Mexican cheese style blend. I think I got this down to earth. But you can see it's really, Is that okay?
Yeah, I was saying, I think somebody wanted you to move it up a little bit higher.
Oh,
closer to the camera, if possible.
I'm trying. And angling it with the light, not glare. That's not helping, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, there.
Go to your left. There you go.
There.
Wait. Oh, okay.
Yeah, right there, right
That's
there.
better.
Right there.
Hey, Okay. There you go.
Hopefully someone can screenshot that, whoever needed that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, Chef.
Okay. All right. So you can see it's a once you've got all the ingredients prepped, it's a really fast recipe to make. And you can you don't have to cook all the patties at once. You know, you can do like I did where I made 4. You've got the mix, and then you can cook up more as you want to eat them. So that's kind of fun too, because they're really fast and easy, and you've already got the mix. So you can keep it in the fridge covered 3 to 4 days, and then just cook it up as you want. And your cheese
Great.
is nice and soft. Yeah.
Looks yummy.
Okay. So I will go ahead if you're okay with it. Just do a quick change of
Absolutely.
bowls. Okay.
And these are extremely tasty. They go pretty quick in the house once you make them.
Yeah.
You hardly finish cooking them and they're already snagging them. Really unique flavors. Yeah, I hope you guys will make it this week.
Okay, so this one, this is hot. So let me get this off the. We've got the tofu, the white beans, cilantro, onion, sauce, panko, binding panko, ginger and garlic, butter chestnuts, green onions, sambal, and a little chili pepper. Mixing bowl. And our platter. Okay. I think I'm ready to rock and roll. You want me to get out the brand of tofu? Would that be helpful? That I bought?
Sure.
Yeah, I think people would want to see.
Okay, so I would happen to have been at Whole Foods. The other one I would recommend. This is a Whole Foods. I do it this way. Trying to see how. Okay.
That's fine.
Whole Foods extra firm tofu is not too firm. You know, each brand of tofu has different kind of personalities. The house brand firm or extra firm is pretty firm, but you could use it too. House brand is another one that works well with this recipe. If you get ones that tend to have more are more soft or have more liquid in them, then you might want to press them before using it, because you really don't want a lot of watery tofu in this recipe. That would be like.
I was going to say, how do you recommend pressing it for people that might not have worked with tofu a lot, might not have? I finally gave in and got a tofu press, which was on Amazon, which was pretty simple. But
Right.
how might you recommend people to do that?
Well, you could put them in like a baking dish. You know, the tofu pieces like this in a baking dish. And then you can put like a baking sheet on top or another baking dish on top, and then just some weights. So it could be like canned goods, beans, tomato sauce, and then the weights of the canned goods will press the tofu, the liquid out of the tofu, and you just kind of keep draining it as it presses. That's how I do it if I need to. Anybody else have any suggestions?
Yeah. So basically put it on a plate or put something else on top of it and something heavy on it, and then let it kind of squish the water out. How long do you usually leave it to squish the water out?
Well, about an hour, two, if you got it. You could put, if you're short on time, then put more weights on and it'll press it faster, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially this recipe, you end up crumbling the tofu, so you don't really need
Right.
it to hold its shape. So it doesn't
Mm,
matter if the weight makes it kind of disformed or squishy.
right. The
Mhm.
other thing I do, if you've got, I mean, I haven't done that in a long time, but I used to have like specific tofu towels, those kind of like
Mm.
from like Daiei or Marukai, those thin Japanese towels, the thin cotton like tea towels. And you can
Mhm.
put your tofu in that and just like literally like, cover it up and take the
Oh,
ends and just twist it. And then it'll
ring it.
just like twist out, yeah, all the liquid. And then I would just hand wash those or keep them in with, I do like a kitchen towel wash. But yeah, you could do that. That works really well. Just have like a
Mhm.
designated little tea towel
Tofu towel.
to a tofu towel. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our tofu. Are we good to start?
Yep, I think we're good.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Okay. So we're going to take our tofu, which I literally, this one still had liquid. So I had it in the bowl and I was just pouring out the liquid as it, as it kept giving me some liquid, but it's pretty firm. You can see it's not crumbling. I'm folding it. Yeah, this is a good one. And then I've just even used my gloved hand and crumble my tofu. You can see how it's all broken up. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to heat up the oil and saute them, cook the onions. So if for any reason you didn't want to use oil, oh, I started. You could just add in the raw onions if you want. Might, like mince them fine and do it that way. So I'm going to put a little bit of avocado oil. I'm going to add my onions. Need a clean spoon. Heats up really fast.
So one question did come in while you're doing this about putting the tofu in a strainer overnight in the refrigerator. Do you
You
think
can
that
do
would
that.
be
Yeah,
enough, or you think that will still
sure.
be too much liquid?
No, that should be fine.
Okay.
I've done that too, where I put like something heavy on top of the tofu. You could put like a piece of plastic wrap and then something heavy over the strainer, depending on the kind of strainer. I'm going to go wash my masher really quick because I'm going to use it for this recipe. Sometimes you can mash the beans because we're going to be adding in the garlic, ginger, beans, and then the shoyu combination. So I just wanted to, let me just, oh, sorry, ginger and garlic, putting it together. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh, a mess. You can see it. I'm going to turn it down a bit more. Going to add in, now this is shoyu, honey, and sesame oil. Oh. And my honey is kind of thick, so I'm going to scrape out the honey out of this. Oh, that smells delicious.
Yeah, that's where all the flavor is in these patties, and you can definitely
Oh
smell it.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
had another
Question. Oh,
oh
go
yeah,
ahead,
go
Heather.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had another question. Can you use what is it, okara tofu pulp
Uh,
in place of the tofu?
you know, I haven't done it, but it's a little drier. You might need to add like some more beans or something more of a binder for it. But I would think you could definitely make that recipe. I think you might just have to play with it a little bit more, maybe more of the panko. I was going to just talk about these white beans, so maybe that might kind of answer your question. As the white beans are acting as a binder. I had mentioned again in the last class, I've been buying my beans at Target. And these beans are so interesting because they're called cannellini beans. And cannellini beans are like soft kidney beans, like the red kidney beans. They're like white kidney beans and they're nice and soft. But it's interesting. I've been finding these cans of cannellini beans at Target look like it's a combination of like navy beans and I don't know. It almost looks like white pinto beans, but they're not like big and super soft. So I don't know what they're getting, or maybe it's just a different crop of cannellini beans. So these ones are going to be a little harder to mash because they're almost like navy beans, which has a different consistency. Navy beans to me are firmer than cannellini beans. So again, it's what you find. So if you have your beans are firmer, it might be easier to kind of mash them either in a food processor or do this before you add it in. I'm just giving you tips for as you shop and what you find here now out in the world, right? It's different things based on where you are.
And I will say too, because you often don't use a full can of the beans.
Yeah.
So then what I do is I freeze it.
Yeah.
The remainder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
It freezes so well, and there's so many uses for white beans that are. It's always great to pull it out of the freezer as you need it. Okay, so I got it mashed. Looks better, and I'm going to continue on. So white beans, and we've got the shoyu, honey, sesame oil, the onions, ginger, garlic. And I am going to add this now to our tofu. I'm just trying to think creatively, how would I do that? Because I have this burner in front of me. If I do it on the edge of the burner, but is that in the camera? It's not really in the camera, is it?
Not quite.
Maybe to the side. No, you could leave the burner because I know that's hot, but maybe just on the side where your masher is, can move some of those dishes to the side and we could do it there. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So we've got our tofu here, and I am going to add in all of this flavorful combo that we just put together in this pot. And then we're going to add in some cilantro and water chestnuts and green onion. Water chestnuts really make a nice crunch to these patties. And if for some reason you can't find water chestnuts, or other ideas would be like jicama. If you have jicama, chop suey yam, those two things. You could also do celery root. Just for the added crunch. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yep,
Chef, there was a question. Do white beans work better for this than other types of beans?
I would say that they have the most benign flavor. They're the softest. So that helps them bind. And I don't know if you'd want to do like if these patties would look kind of funny if they had a different colored bean in them, I would think. It's a good question. I'm thinking because it's Asian, you could do like azuki beans, but it might make it kind of an odd color.
It might be like
Anyone
an
else?
Oreo.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the green onions. This is the cilantro. Oh, and I have sambal, my little chopstick fish. I have no sesame soup. Okay, chili paste. I have a red chili pepper that I actually dried. So I'm going to cut the little chili pepper.
Oh, that's a good way to do it. I've never cut my chili pepper before.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's pretty dry.
Yeah. That's a little tiny one.
Yeah, it's one of those spicy local chili peppers. So I got a little pepper and some real salt to taste. Then I'm going to mix it. Not too bad. Okay. Get my gloves again. This is the point that we're going to add some panko too to help with the binding. You can see this makes a good amount of mixture. And Heather, you say you double this recipe, right?
Yeah, I will sometimes double them and freeze them. Otherwise, it usually makes the size of patties that I make, I get about 8.
The big ones? I mean, you make them twice the size.
Yeah, yeah, like the size of the palm of my hand, I can get about 8 of those.
Okay, okay.
In a single batch. So if I double it, yeah, I'd have more.
Yeah, 8 is good. It depends upon the, your family dynamics. And how much people eat in your household?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to reuse my cast iron skillet. I've got a little wet paper towel. So I'm just going to wipe it off. So I don't have any residual flavors from the Pinto burgers. And then I'm going to just continue on here. I've got a little bit of which way to go. So I'm going to add panko to bind. So I'm going to start with half this bowl. See how I get, because we're looking for kind of like the pinto beans. We're looking for a certain texture.
There was a question about, can we fry with no oil?
If you have a nonstick skillet, air fryer, right? Air fryer that I've yet to try. Plating. Has anyone done it? Heather, Nathan? I don't know, Nathan, if you've made these.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with no oil at all in a pan because I have a cast iron pan, so it would need a little bit of oil.
Right.
And
or
then
not, yeah.
And then the air frying. I have a smaller air fryer, so I had to do like 2 at a time because I could only fit about 4 patties inside there. So it probably depends. And so for me, it was a little bit easier to bake them because I could just do all of them at once.
Yeah, yeah.
And they still got browned. I just put the parchment paper on and put them on, and I flipped them maybe halfway through.
Oh, great. Sandra said, yeah, you can get crisping and browning in a dry pan. Thanks, Sandra.
And or just use if you really want minimal, you could do the like a spray oil. You know how they have those cans of, you just do a quick dusting on the pan to make it so it won't stick. Okay, so what I've got here, you can see. See how they're holding together. So this is what you're looking for.
So the amount of panko that you add is kind of subjective depending upon how well they're, because if you add too much, it might get too crumbly. And if you don't add enough, it might be a little too wet, right?
Yeah, so the variables are like what brand, like what tofu you bought, how wet it was, how much liquid you got out of it, right? And then from there, then how much panko do you add? And then you can put it on do a little dusting on either side. I'm really making a mess here, so I'm going to have to go and clear but you can get an idea. So we got a little bit of a crunchy topping on both sides, and then we can pan fry it or bake it. So I'm going to put this puppy here, clear this. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so Cheryl's asking, panko is wheat, right?
Yes.
Could you use oats? Or is there a gluten-free version of panko?
There is a gluten-free panko.
There's gluten-free. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I would do it that more than oats, because oats is not going to give you a crispy outer coating, or just have no panko, be just fine. You could do it that way too.
But you need some sort of binder in the recipe itself with the panko, yeah? Breadcrumbs, I don't know, gluten-free.
Yes, the gluten-free breadcrumbs. Sorry, I was thinking of the outer coating, but yes, the binding. You could also just also add like more beans, that kind of for binding. The panko really is helpful. Was that did that answer hopefully the question,
I think so. I don't see a response yet, or I don't see any other questions either.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it did. Thanks, Cheryl.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
All right,
sorry,
and just about a time check, we got about 8 to 10 minutes left.
Okay. I'm just going to do a quick demo of a couple patties here. Just don't want it to be too much oil, but just enough to put a couple on. So I have it at 285. Let's see what happens. Doesn't sound too. So I've got this one formed. Put a little bit of, roll it both sides. Starting to sizzle a little bit. I don't know if you can hear that. I've also done this with like the veggie burgers, the ones that like the new brands I haven't tried, but some of them tended to be more kind of wet or sticky, and that's a good binding. Instead of the beans, you can add some veggie ground beef.
One question came in on what's a good way to reheat the patties for both recipes?
I would think in a nonstick skillet. I mean, you could microwave them too if you're a microwave person. That would be my thought initially. Or you could put them in a toaster oven for a couple minutes. So while this is
perfect,
hopefully, yeah, okay, good, okay. So while this is doing its browning, I just wanted to show you that I did make the sauce ahead of time. So this is shoyu, sesame oil, rice vinegar, sambal, green onions, and sesame seeds. So this is like your dipping sauce. So I like to put this in a little lettuce leaf plate with some cucumbers and pour that sauce over. It's just really delicious. Let me see what this looks like on the side. Yeah. It's browning. Nice. That one needs a little bit more, but I can turn it again. So you really just want to heat it through, make it crispy on the outside. Manage the heat. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, just add a little. Again, this is a seasoned cast iron skillet. So I'm just going to add a little bit. Continue the cooking process. And then you can cook them all up, or again, like the pinto bean patties, you can keep this mix, in the fridge. You could form them into the patties and keep the patties in the fridge, and in between parchment paper or wax paper, and then you can cook them off as you want them. So there's all different kinds of variables on how to work with what you've got as far as your family dynamics.
Looks delicious. I can practically smell them from here.
Yeah, and you're going to have them for dinner. Yeah, that's good timing.
I got mine pre-made.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions, you guys, while she's finishing cooking those?
Just going to check and make sure it doesn't smell like it's burning. I just don't want to burn them. So hopefully you can see that, there's a little bit of prep work, but they're very easy to put together. You want to make sure that, the big key ingredients for these tofu patties are just making sure that your tofu is well drained and dry. You can crumble it well. And that when you add the panko, you just want to get it the consistency where you can form them into patties well. And then you can pan fry them or bake them in the oven. Just check it on the other side. Keep it going here. Turn it up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Do you guys see yourself making these? Got some new recipes to try out in the next couple of weeks. And before we put this, I will put up a screen because our next class is going to be April 17th. So mark your calendars. From 5 to 6 p.m. we'll be working with whole grains. So just FYI, it's going to be on the third Monday. So our schedule is just a little off this month and next month from our usual fourth Monday of the month. So mark your calendar, April 17th, 5 to 6 p.m. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys are inspired and you're going to try it. Then you can tell us next month. Make sure you come to the next class and tell us what you thought. Fantastic. This is great for meal prep.
Yeah, Chef, I know you can't see the chat right now, but got a couple people saying looking forward to trying them. Some are going to try it tonight. So.
Oh, thank you. Wow, exciting. Yeah. I'm keeping it kind of at a lower temperature because I didn't want to burn these patties, but I wanted to increase it a little bit. But the bottom line, I was going to put it in here in the middle so you guys can see, you can eat them.
Yep, that's part of eating with our eyes, is just that beautiful visual display.
Yeah. Let me just get a little bit of this sauce. Oh. This sauce is good on all kinds of stuff too. Good with rice.
Very tasty.
All right. There we go. A little extra cilantro if you like cilantro.
Beautiful.
How long can you keep how long can you keep uncooked tofu past the sell date?
Oh, it depends upon the brand, really. But I pretty much watch the sell date for tofu. Gosh, I pretty much go through it before it gets to the sell date. So I don't know if I'm a good person to answer. I go through tofu kind of quick. And it's got, depending upon if it's been pasteurized or not, right? Like the Whole Foods and that house brand, those guys last for a long time. Their date usually is pretty far extended out. But if you've got like Mrs. Chang's or is it Olive brand? Is that still around? Or what's the one? Aloha Tofu.
Aloha Band. Yep.
Yeah, those can go sour pretty quick. So it also depends on what the brand is that you got. So I'm sorry, it's a variable question.
Yep. Okay. Good. Well, I know we've reached the 6 o'clock hour, so I understand if folks need to jump off. Thank you, Chef. I'm going to just quickly put on the screen here again. I'll put the dates of the next class and the contact numbers, and I hope to see you all here again next month. Put this up. Okay. Oh, and then I will come back to the recipe. I know that was it Alessandra wanted. So we'll get that going too.
Thank you,
Sorry, guys.
everybody. Appreciate you folks joining in. Glad it
Okay,
was a fun class.
Yeah. So here again is our date for next month and the number 432-2260. You do need to register for each month individually, so you make sure that you're a part of it. And then just a reminder, if this is something you want to put into practice, this or maybe other lifestyle changes you're considering making, maybe you're motivated to really, prioritize your health right now, I encourage you to check in with one of our wellness coaches. So we're there to come alongside you to provide support, accountability, resources, and just help you to navigate that path together. So you can make appointments through that same number, 432-2260, or you can also make appointments directly on kp.org under the appointments tab. And here on the screen also, I know it's kind of small, you guys, but we offer a lot of different classes, and I hope you'll take advantage of all the benefits that are available to you. So many of these are taught by our dietitian. Some are specific to certain health conditions like prediabetes or diabetes or heart health. And we have other ones that are just specific to general eating and lifestyle change. So we hope you'll check them out, specifically the Viva Veggies class, which is direct relationship to plant-based eating, which is what this class is working to promote and to build those skills. So thank you again for all of your time today and for joining us for this awesome cooking session. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll open it up again for any questions or any comments that Maylin or Dr. Jun or Alyssa, anything you want to share. And I will navigate back to the recipes here for Alessandra if she's still on. You have to let me know which recipe it was you wanted. So here's the pinto bean one.
I would guess the pinto bean, since that's when she came in with the
Okay.
comment.
This one. Okay, got
yes,
it.
Yep. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
And I'm not seeing any questions coming in.
Okay. Hopefully I was clear.
Yes, you were. Great class as always. You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you, Maylin. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you, Dr. Jun.
Thank you, Michelle.
Good night,
we got everybody. Right?
Thank you, Michelle.
Good night, Moon. Get everybody covered.
I went to John Boy. Good night, John Boy.
Shall I end the meeting here?
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and end. And so Alyssa will be in touch for next month's recipes for the whole grains.
Right, the rice.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Take care.
Good
Bye.
night. Thank you.